So I find this very interesting picture from the NASA. You're gonna see here pretty much where people choose to live, and you're gonna see some big differences in some areas. And probably this is a map, I will call it a map from let's say 2000 years to present, where people actually choose to live, and where how it actually looks 8.2 billion people in the world at night. Now, you don't be fooled by some of those lights. One of the things I think it's important here, those are not actually town or cities, those are wildfires. So you're gonna see all those points here of light, but they're not towns, they're pretty much wildfires. They get pictured from the satellite. But here it's a city. You can see Australia, huge country. I didn't make a video, but I'm gonna do it pretty soon. You're gonna see pretty much some packs here of the city. You have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 main one, I would say. And you can see how much the rest of the country expect, not taking in calculation those wildfires, how actually empty it is, and not that many people actually live there. Now, in New Zealand, here the same thing, but New Zealand doesn't have that many people, so it's kind of justified, I think, in my opinion. But most of the people, like I see, they choose to live near water. So especially because in Australia, are pretty much all the main cities and towns are around the ocean, around the water. Now, another thing that I find interesting, look at this, Japan. How I think Japan is one of those countries. Japan and South Korea, you can see how much populated they are. They are big countries, big numbers, but still not that much territory. And what you see here on the sea, those are not exactly town or cities. Those are fishing vessels. So especially here, look at this, how they align. So don't be exactly fooled about anything. But look at the difference between North Korea, which is pretty much they have pretty much only one city here where they have lights, and the rest of them, the country is pretty much in the dark. And look at the South Korea, how much more light you can find here, how many people have access actually to electricity, and how many actually use them, because you can have access but you cannot use it. That's a different topic. China, on the east coast, you can see a lot is going on in here with big cities, huge one, you can see from the satellites. And the rest of the country, in the west of the part, it's pretty much an empty one. Taiwan, look at this, on the west coast, pretty much fully covered. East coast, not that much, and this is pretty much a mountain island. Here in the mountains, not that much light, not that many population here. But let's see what we can find more interesting. India, look at India. I think it's pretty much, there are a lot of huge number. India, Sri Lanka, not that much. You can see here that just on the west side. But India, there are a lot of people, but I can see pretty much almost some bold spots here, but almost all the country it's pretty much covered in a population. So you see how well they spread. And here in the mountains, you can see a clear line when they stop growing. Pakistan, the same thing. You can see here along the river, they need to, like I say, people goes and settle usually around water. What else we have here? Let's go the Middle East. Like I say, pretty much a desert, everything around the water. And we have here in the center, I think those are actually cities, because you can see some roads here, I think. Egypt is probably one of the nicest one. You can see here on the Nile how well they settle on the river, and with the delta here going the Mediterranean Sea, how nice they look. Again, here in Israel, a lot of lights here, very much cover pretty much all the country, almost. Some parts here are pretty much a bald spot, but not that much. In Israel, there's not that many people, but still, look at this, how well they spread. Also, Turkey, pretty much a mountain country in my opinion, and you can see here some spots here and there. Russia, look with Moscow, look at this, how big. And St. Petersburg, look how big they look even from the space. But I just make that video and see how empty actually it is. You can see here some parts. I think this is pretty much some, I don't think there are cities here, but it's something, I don't think it's fire. But the rest of the country, look at how dark it is. It's pretty much uninhabitable for such a big area. Here same with Iran, not that many, but you can see how much space do they have actually. Europe is pretty much packed. You can see here in the northern again, anything on the coastline, and then when you go in the east and western Europe, which is line, it should be around here, around that. You can see the west, especially the northern Italy, how well populated it is, and that's why you can see reasons why the northern Italy is much more, let's say, rich. Well, they do much well than the south of the Italy. Spain, you can see here pretty much in the center of the population and on the coast, but in the center of one of those countries they actually prefer to live in the in pretty much in a desert. Portugal on the coastline, France with the city of lights. Look at this, how big the Paris it is, even from the space, how nice they look. London, the same with England. England pretty much all spread, especially the Scotland here in the north is not that many people, but England, I think they are well spread around the country, especially with London, much bright spot right there. Now for the rest of Europe, you can see a pretty much even spread, but you can see especially this line right here, how well they're doing in this part of the Europe, judging just by how many people live there. As here with Athens in Greece, a lot of lights here, a good spot right here, and the rest of them is pretty much like I said in Eastern Europe, not that much differences, but you can see some differences between the east and the west. But you can see even here, right here, with this line, how poorly they do east of that line, and see how much better they're doing than the west line here. From here, this part here, right there, it's probably used to be the Eastern Europe, and this from here, you can see the Soviet Union, the former one, and like I say here in the west of the world, in the west of the Europe, the western countries, how well they do, judging by just how many lights, how many people actually live there, and how much prosper they can be there. Africa, pretty much empty. You can see here just the northern coast, just a bit here and there, but everything else, look at this, how this is the desert, how many people live there, not that many. And here in the west coast, let's say, just find some spots. So that shows you that Africa, it's like I said, a country with a huge population, but see how less access they have to resources, I think, because this shows they are still living pretty much exclusively, I would say, on the aspects from spots here, exclusively on the coastline. And with that many population, look at the difference between the Europe, which is well spread around, much better and much less population than the Africa does. So you can see such why economics play such important role, especially when have countries that not that well developed. You can compare Africa, let's say, with the former Soviet Union here, this part right here, and it's still much better than Africa shows. Now with some islands here, very nice. Look at this, some lights. I think it looks amazing. And let's go with Iceland. Iceland, not that many people. You can see just pretty much on the coastline, and that's it. Ireland, well spread in my opinion. You can see a lot, not that huge numbers of people. That again, well spread. That shows when I see people that just well spread, that just shows the economic. It doesn't have that so much difference between let's say the main city and pretty much around them. It's an empty space because the opportunities are less there. So if you have to want to do well in life in those countries, you have to go in one place, which is go up with the price of the rents and real estates and stuff like that. So it just shows much more spread population in the country. In my opinion, just shows that that country pretty much is doing well, or everybody is doing poorly. It's gonna be one of those things. Now in the South America, you can see pretty much again empty. Everything is pretty much on the coastline with the bigger city, but again we have some spots here and there, but most likely you can see here just on the coastline. Look at this, how well populated this island it is right here. I don't know exactly the name of this one, but I think they do pretty well here, especially in those, probably one of those, I don't think it's Puerto Rico, I'm not sure exactly, but those islands that most of them, I think, they're still part of the somewhere more or less than European Empire. They're doing pretty much well. Now, with the difference between Haiti and Republic Dominican, I think it's the borderline is right here. You can see which one goes, which one does much better than the other one. In the Central America, again, pretty much on the west coast here, you don't see that much more activity on the east coast. And with Mexico, it's pretty much a population concentrated in the south of the country, and with a few packs here in the east on the Mexican, American Gulf, whatever you want. Now with the US, we can see a clearly line between the east of America and west of them. And look at this, how much this part of the country is empty. You have, yes, in California, here in Los Angeles and San Francisco, big settlements, let's say, let's call it, in the north here in the Washington and Oregon. You can see on the coastline, and even a bit in a continent. But in the east coast, look at this, most of the population, it is there. Look at the Florida, how spread they are. And of course, look at this, pretty much all the east coast is populated. Everybody lives on the east side, like Chicago. Everybody lives on the east side of the continent. Look how much space do they have here, and the emptiness. And so America is one of those countries that it doesn't go bad with the land. There are other things that so they have the land to build, but they have other things that keep them away from that. Now with Canada, you can see, like I said in my videos, most of the population live in pretty much, I think, in 100 miles of the US border. So you can see here, most of them, they're just very close to the United States, and the rest of the country is pretty much in the dark. Look at this, Canada and especially Greenland, just a few spots here, but pretty much empty. Alaska, I have some packages here and here, but not that many. So that in Hawaii here, of course, you can look a bit of that how they look. So that's actually the world, how it looks at night, and where the population pretty much choose to live. And you can see sometimes some differences between what happened in the past, especially here with North Korea in the present. You can see some different clear lines, and pretty much all those lines tell a story, especially even the US, such a clear line. The United States was populated from the east to the west, and you can even today you can see that. So I think that that's very interesting. You can see here pretty much the Western world with the United States, the Western Europe, how well they done, and those population, those countries with big population like India and China, and even the Japan, how well. Japan is not a Western country by definition, but it is a very developed country, so we can actually count it as a developed country, pretty much part of the Western countries, but not with the culture. The culture is way different than everyone else. So yeah, that was the video. I think it's very interesting to see, especially from the above, and especially at night, where the lights are, where the people are actually living, and how much emptiness it's actually in the world, and how much space do we have for things like, I don't know, agriculture, industrialization, looking for resources, minerals, metals, something like that. So yeah, if you have a comment, please discuss in a comment section, and I'm gonna respond there.